It's been quite a soaking for the state. We'll talk about the rain so far and when things will finally dry out.
Then charges filed against the man accused of shooting 5 officers in Benton County. A look at what we know about the suspect tonight.
Then 1 million people in Gaza being warned they have less than 24 hours to head south and evacuate. The latest from the region and from U.S. leaders.
Back at home, a push to get thousands of kids into pre-K classrooms for free.
But I'm going to put it on the list of the greatest successes that we had in this last session.
And it's like a little free library, but this one's goal is to save lives. KARE 11 News at 5 starts now.
We probably heard someone saying we really needed this rain more than once today, and it's true. Inches of it falling steadily today. Everyone hoping it makes a dent in our state's drought.
And it's not over yet. Let's start by checking in with meteorologist Jamie Cagle with a look at where we are now and how much longer it's going to last. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, yeah, a lot of gray skies, a few sprinkles in the backyard right now. The rain is expected to last into the late evening hours. We'll see things tapering off, though, and we should end up with a relatively dry weekend. But the rain's still coming down. Take a look at some of the rainfall totals. We just updated these just moments ago. Victoria, 3.68 in Plymouth, right behind them. 3.64 Minnetonka above the 3-inch mark, and Bloomington just over 3 inches. Coon Rapids just shy of that 3-inch mark there. You can see it, MSP 1.82 over the past 24 plus hours, and still coming down right now. There are some areas that are picking up a little more rainfall than others, but overall we will see this trend tapering off over the next 12 hours or so. You can see right now, again, most of the area is going to be from the metro north, and under that we're finding the 40s right now. Elsewhere where you're missing out on the rain, you have some 50s, but the rain stays in the forecast for the rest of the evening. I'll let you know, though, when we start to see some dry, beautiful weather return.
All right, we'll look forward to that. Thank you, Jamie. To the latest now on the shooting that injured 5 officers yesterday in Benton County. Today, prosecutors charged 64-year-old Carl Holmberg as the gunman.
The long list of charges includes attempted murder and assault. KARE 11's Lou Raguse breaks down the details and Holmberg's history. Lou?
Rita and Julie, according to the criminal complaint, when police got there, Holmberg told his wife it was his day to die.
Shots fired.
Police radio clips from Broadcastify capture the moment 5 officers with the Sherburne County Drug Task Force were shot after entering this home in Benton County to execute a search warrant.
They announced their arrival multiple times before entering the home.
Now, criminal charges filed against 64-year-old Carl Holmberg say he watched the officers enter his home from surveillance video with multiple guns laid out on his bed before shooting blindly through a closed bedroom door. Holmberg's wife, Doreen, said Holmberg told her it was his day to die, and he asked her to join the fight. And when she refused, he called her a coward, according to the criminal complaint. Holmberg is charged with 6 counts of attempted murder for the 5 officers he wounded and 1 other he allegedly shot at, plus 6 counts of assault. The officers included 3 from Sherburne County, 1 wounded and 2 shot in their bulletproof vests. An Elk River officer and Princeton police officer were also hit.
Still inside the regiment, still with firearms. He's got 3 handguns, a 45, a 38, a bunch of ammo, 4 shotguns, 12 gauges and 20 gauges, and a .226 rifle.
It took hours of negotiation to get Holmberg to surrender. This is a 2002 mugshot of Holmberg, and these are more recent photos from his Facebook pages. According to the Department of Corrections, Holmberg has never been in prison, but he has at least 3 drug-related convictions stemming from 1986 to 2006.
Carl Holmberg made his first court appearance today. He's now being held in jail on $3 million bail. Rena.
All right, thank you, Lou. Officials now say 3 of the 5 officers have been treated and released from the hospital. 2 are still being treated at North Memorial. Officials say they're not going to reveal their names because the officers were all working undercover.
To the latest now in the Middle East, where the clock is ticking for 1 million civilians in Gaza to evacuate. Today, Israeli forces telling people they need to head south and leave Gaza before the country launches a ground attack. It's a move the UN is denouncing, saying it's impossible and will deepen the humanitarian emergency, while American leaders are reminding people why Israel is taking this action. Here's NBC's Bree Jackson.
The Israeli military dropping leaflets over Gaza City today, calling on residents to flee south ahead of Israel's planned ground assault to eliminate Hamas militants. As the bombing intensifies, the death toll continues to rise. The U.S. working on multiple fronts to keep the war from spreading. Secretary of State Blinken in Qatar today, meeting with Middle Eastern leaders.
Let's not lose sight of why this is happening. Israel is conducting operations in Gaza because Hamas carried out terrorist attacks.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in Israel pledging U.S. support. Back in Washington, President Biden on 60 Minutes pledging to secure the release of American hostages.
We're going to do everything in our power to get them home if we can find them.
As the humanitarian crisis grows in Gaza, the United Nations is calling an evacuation impossible, saying any effort to move the region's more than 1 million people could turn a tragic situation into a calamity.
The situation for the 2 million residents of Gaza is desperate. They are pawns right now. They're victims in the most terrible eruption of violence imaginable.
Violence launched by Hamas's surprise attack on Israel that now threatens to spiral across the region. In Washington, Bree Jackson, NBC News.
Coming up here on Breaking the News, Sammy Salinas spoke with Israeli-American and Palestinian-American leaders right here in the Twin Cities. Folks on both sides saying their communities are struggling with the realities of the war. It is tonight at 6:30. New fences and barriers have gone up around the U.S. Capitol and law enforcement buildings today. Officials say it is a precaution after a former Hamas leader called on supporters to make today a, quote, global day of rage. Capitol Police say there aren't any specific threats to Congress, but are asking people to stay vigilant.
Behind those fences today, Republican members of Congress nominated Ohio Representative Jim Jordan to be Speaker of the House. This after Majority Leader Steve Scalise pulled out of the Speaker race last night when he couldn't secure enough support from Republicans to win in a House floor vote. It is not clear if Jordan will have the votes either.
This weekend marks 1 month since workers started striking against the 3 big U.S. automakers. And today, the UAW president said the strike won't expand for now, but says workers are ready to walk out at any time. He's calling on all UAW members to join the picket lines tomorrow to mark the 1-month milestone.
Today, Governor Walz kicked off a statewide tour highlighting investments that will expand access to pre-K. Kaya Edwards is here to explain how many more spots there will be for families enrolling their littlest ones in school. Hi, Kaya.
Hey, Julie. Governor Walz says this past legislative session, enough funding was secured to keep 4,000 pre-K spots that would have otherwise expired next year. And over the next 2 years, 5,000 more will be added. So we're talking about, yes, a total of 9,000 spots statewide. Today, the governor stopped by Eisenhower Elementary in Hopkins to visit a pre-K classroom and highlight the investment. He says it ensures young kids like these have access to high-quality early childhood education while also saving their families thousands of dollars on childcare.
For Minnesota taxpayers, there was a lot over the summer and into the fall excitement about what got done. Now I think comes seeing what these investments mean. That healthy start that these kids are getting, they're coming into this school in the morning, they're having their breakfast, they're having their free lunch, they're learning, they're getting socialized into that environment, and that's what this investment means is when they get to the kindergarten program, they're able to excel.
Another investment was announced just this morning. This one, though, coming from the White House. Minnesota was chosen as one of 7 regional clean hydrogen hubs. That's a $7 billion federal program and a key component of President Joe Biden's agenda to slow climate change. Today, Governor Walz said that's exactly why it's important to prepare the workforce, starting as early as pre-K.
Thank you, Kaya. A heads up for drivers this weekend, a big stretch of a major interstate shutting down in one direction. Jennifer Austin has a look at that and more road closures in our area.
3 closures to talk about this weekend. The first one is a substantial stretch of 35W northbound from the 26th Street overpass in Minneapolis all the way up to Roseville 280. So that begins Friday 10 p.m. until Monday around 5 a.m. And here's your detour, 94 eastbound and then take 280 north. That'll get you around that. The next closure is up in Blaine, the North Metro, 65 southbound, the stretch from 131st Avenue Northeast down to US 10. That begins Friday 10 p.m. and again that'll reopen Monday around 5 a.m. The last closure we have to talk about, just a small stretch of 10 westbound in Anoka. If you're familiar with Anoka, there's been ongoing construction in that area. That closure is 7th Avenue all the way over to 169 or Ferry Street. As it's known, Friday 10 p.m. that will reopen again Monday at 5 a.m.
Our thanks to Jennifer Austin. And speaking of the weekend, Saturday Night Live is back tomorrow night. The season 49 premiere is coming after last season stopped abruptly because of the writer's strike. SNL alum Pete Davidson is hosting with musical guest Ice Spice. That's tomorrow night, right after KARE 11 News at 10. Still ahead here at 5, an overdose reversing drug, now available over the counter, but cost is still in the way. Tonight, one group is borrowing an idea from the Little Free Libraries to keep that drug free and readily available.
Plus, Target Center celebrating an anniversary. We dug into the archives and found out what people were talking about before it opened. This past summer, an opioid overdose reversal drug called naloxone became available over the counter, but there were still barriers in getting that life-saving drug into the people's hands who needed it.
Sharon Yu shows us one group in Minneapolis that's looking to change that.
A single dose of naloxone can cost up to $25, but here at the intersection of Emerson and Broadway in Minneapolis, it's going to be free thanks to a marketing agency that was inspired by the Little Free Library. That corner is home to the Episcopal Church in Minnesota, and Amelia C. Allen, the missioner of communications there, says it's a busy intersection.
A lot of traffic on Broadway, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of bike traffic.
So when the marketing agency 6 Speed approached them about mounting one of these harm reduction boxes outside their building, it was an easy yes.
Overdose can happen all too easily. The easier we can make it and the more stigma we can remove from the needs people might have when they're suffering from addiction, the better.
Inside the box, boxes of dual-dose Narcan, as well as test strips to detect fentanyl.
They're actually relatively cheap.
President of 6 Speed, Kevin Riley, says, yes, Narcan is now available over the counter, but here it's free.
Still running about $50 for a 2-dose pack, so it's still rather expensive, but the trade-off is $50, you may be saving somebody's life.
And it being unlocked and outside, it's by design.
Just having people carry it on them. The vision is that, if and when an incident happens and somebody needs it, it's as close at hand as possible.
The box will be mounted right here, and it is open and free for the public to come by and take whatever they need. In Minneapolis, Sharon Yu, KARE 11 News.
Right now, 6 Speed is partnering with Southside Harm Reduction to fundraise for more of those boxes around town, as well as to keep them stocked. If you're interested in making a donation, you can check out this story on our website.
The man accused of stealing Judy Garland's famous ruby red slippers from a Grand Rapids museum has pleaded guilty to the crime. The 76-year-old was charged with theft of a major artwork in May and originally pleaded not guilty. In court, however, he said he used a sledgehammer to break into the case. As for why he did it, he said he thought the slippers were actually made of real rubies and ditched them when he realized they weren't. A federal judge in Duluth says the man will be sentenced in the coming months, but did not give an exact date.
Well, today marks 33 years since Target Center opened its doors to the public for the very first time. October 13th, 1990, the arena hosted a charity event called Jump Ball that benefited the American Cancer Society. A few days later, the Wolves kicked off their first season there. But you might remember there was a little bit of controversy with the arena being named after a company.
When you're spending $90-some million to build an arena, it takes revenues to pay it off, and this is one of the ways that we're going to be able to pay the building off.
Back in the day, the naming rights were worth about $450,000 a year.
How far we've come.
I know, right? I'm like, isn't everything named after a company? Like, why?
And grateful for it. Yeah. Better facilities. Yeah. It's all good.
At least this one you can pronounce. I mean, some of them are like, well, how do you, what's the name of that stadium?
7 names before they get to the arena. Yeah.
Oh, well, you know that us weather people, we like to talk about records, and we're always looking for the extremes and whatnot. Well, the Weather Minds today, this one even caught me off guard a little bit too, but Ben found a rather interesting and kind of out of the norm record to talk about that happened over the Great Lakes. Take a look.
This past weekend, a record went down over the Great Lakes, a record number of waterspouts forming in a single day. According to the International Center of Waterspout Research, yes, that's a thing, there were over 180 waterspouts reported on Lake Erie, more than double the previous record. Now, a waterspout is a whirling column of water, mist, and air. They tend to form along developing lines of cumulus clouds and are generally not associated with thunderstorms. If they shifted onshore, we would dub them a tornado. Now, the weather setup for waterspouts this past weekend was just about perfect. You had warmer than average waters of Lake Erie combined with very cold temperatures aloft thanks to a strong low pressure trough to help create instability. And conditions were such that you'd be able to see 2, 3, or more waterspouts at a time.
Just the right environment for it to take place. So, like I said, pretty interesting and kind of out of the norm weather record there, but nonetheless, pretty cool. All right, for us, we're talking about cool temperatures and we're talking about a lot of rain that's been coming down over the past 2 days now. Rainfall totals around the metro area upwards of 3 inches in a number of neighborhoods. We were talking about that. Right now, as always, you take a look outside, a lot of gray skies. You can see the rain coming down in the sky cam there, 49 degrees, feels like 43. And that's with that east-northeast wind at around 17 miles an hour. Good news is the winds will be trending downward a little bit for tomorrow. Temperatures slowly recovering. Here's a look at the big picture right now. Area low pressure over Iowa at this time, generating some severe weather for parts of that state. For us, though, we are going to be staying under just this swath of rainfall. It is going to lift a little further to the north, but as this area low pressure drifts east-southeasterly, this rain is going to get pulled through parts of southern to southeastern Minnesota. It's going to come back through the metro area and through western Wisconsin. So we're not done yet. It's not just lifting in the north and then leaving. It is going to take a little bit, several hours for all of this to get through. By tomorrow morning, we'll be left with just some spotty showers. But right now, you can see some areas of moderate rainfall picking up along I-94 western Wisconsin. And that's pushing into parts of the metro. A little heavier, though, as you move up towards Pine and Carlton County, up into Aiken County at this time. And still just heavy cloud cover across much of the area. The winds, they're rather breezy to say the least. Many of us in about 15, upwards of 25 miles an hour. That's some stronger wind gusts from time to time, and you can see it's all wrapped around that area low pressure just to our south. Much of this wind is coming in from the east. It'll shift a little more northeasterly for tomorrow, but as you can see, the forecast winds tomorrow afternoon coming down a bit. We'll be closer to that 10 to 15 mile per hour range. Not likely to have those strong wind gusts as well as the moderate rainfall that's continuing to fall at this hour. So here we are again under this rainfall at this time, right through the middle of the state. That area low pressure starts to pull south, and with it, that band of rain comes through the metro. It'll sink into southern Minnesota, southeastern Minnesota, and then by tomorrow morning, a few breaks in the clouds will be about it. We'll be left with just spotty showers, like I said, kind of spilling in from that northeast direction. So not an entirely dry day, but nonetheless, we're drying things out. A lot of cloud cover. I know a lot of folks are hoping to see the eclipse for tomorrow. It does not look like there'll be much of a viewing at all around the upper Midwest. You can see for the rainfall, nothing too substantial, another 1/10 or 2 of an inch. And then things like we saw in the microcast beginning to quiet down and dry up as we go through our Saturday into our Sunday. Breezy tonight, still the continuing showers down to about 44. Tomorrow you'll see again heavy cloud cover across the area. Temperatures into those low 50s for the afternoon and a few spotty showers possible. Better chance for some early morning steady rainfall will be about it, but by about 5, 6 a.m. it is really going to be a drying trend around here. Here's a look at temperatures across the region. Temperatures will just work their way into the low 50s, and that will be about it for Sunday. A little more sunshine, we start to warm things up a bit, but look at that, some low 60s right there in the middle of the week before our next round of rain. We'll be right back.
If you bought a Ford Explorer in the last few years, heads up, the company's recalling almost 240,000 2020 to 2022 models. They say a rear axle bolt can break. If it happens while driving, it can cut off power to the wheels, and it could cause the SUV to roll away if it happens while it's in park. Ford says dealers will replace that bolt for free. Well, how much more does it cost to work in the office than working remotely?
One new study says it's more than $50 a day. That includes money for gas, parking, and meals. The study from Owl Lab says pet owners are spending another $20 a day on pet care. Forbes says almost 13% of employees in the U.S. work remotely full-time, and about 28% work a hybrid schedule.
And liftoff of Falcon Heavy and Psyche.
That rocket is part of a mission to hopefully help us learn more about the early days of our solar system. It's headed to the asteroid Psyche that scientists say is a piece of a metallic core from a planet that formed very early. It will take 6 years to get there, but in 2029, researchers will be able to take a closer look at the metals that make it up, and they say it could help us better understand what is at Earth's core. We'll be right back. All this rain will hopefully mean a better spring for farmers who have been dealing with the drought. But right now, the harvest, as it's going on, this timing couldn't be worse. What farmers are saying coming up at 6.
Nightly News with Lester Holt is just minutes away. Lester will bring us live coverage from inside Israel and talks with an American who escaped and is sharing her chilling video. We hope to see you back here at 6.